Hello, MGTOW. Hello, men. This is Howard Dare. Thanks for stopping by. So, I want to talk about a fairly complicated subject here. I want to talk about how men are being torn between two worlds by two polar opposites within our society and how it is tearing them apart. And, my insight to this is that this is exactly what's working on me. So this kind of goes back to Machiavelli's question for the leader. Is it better to be feared by your subjects or to be loved by your subjects? And his answer, while it's good to be loved, it is better as a leader to be feared because people will take advantage. They will go against your orders, your wishes, your desires, and they will say to themselves, because he loves me, he will forgive this, right? Therefore, if you're the leader and you're in charge, you would much rather them say to themselves, I will not cross him. I will not betray anything that I've said. I will do as I said, because if I don't, I will be punished. I am afraid. Now, perhaps you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't want to go around making people afraid. And that's understandable. I certainly don't want to do that. But consider, what if they're mutually exclusive, okay? What if by trying to be a good man who is loved, who is respected, who treats others with dignity and respect, these are good qualities. What if by pursuing that, you're undercutting another aspect? The aspect where you need to be feared, you need to be respected. People need to know that if they mess around with you, they're going to get hurt. They're going to find out. Now, evaluating both of these options, it seems rather materialistic, rather cruel, overly ambitious, perhaps. But here's the problem. Okay, and this is a problem, and we need, as men, to understand this. You need to be feared and respected in this world. Otherwise, you don't get to hold on to your job. Otherwise, you don't get to be promoted. Otherwise, you lose, potentially, your motivation to get ahead. And here's the thing. This isn't just a zero-sum. This is a zero-sum game, okay? There's only one job. There's only one top position. So who are you feeding? Are you feeding your ambition, right? Or are you feeding the good man within you? Okay? It's an interesting question, isn't it? Can you do both at the same time? Tell me if this is true for you, because it's true for me. When things are going my way, all right, I feel good about things. I think to myself, well, God loves me. Otherwise, I wouldn't be having so much success. Okay, so there's a part of that. And it's as simple as like me walking home from someplace and it starts to rain. And I look up at the sky and I say, why? Why have you done this to me? Why are you raining upon me? Right? And if I'm walking home and it's a beautiful day and maybe I find, $20 or something, I'm like, obviously the universe loves me, and all is good with the world. So events, the things that are happening in my life can feed my ego, right? And if bad things are happening, my ego starts to get weak. For example, I've had to walk in the hot desert for many miles just to get food. Don't ask me to explain, why I get myself into these positions. But as I take off on my first mile, I'm like, yeah, it's cool. I got to do what I got to do. Second mile, I'm like, yeah, it's kind of hot out here. Third mile, I'm like, yeah, this kind of sucks. This isn't fair. Why am I the one walking out here and all these other people are driving? Fourth mile, I'm like, all these people are weak. Okay. Yeah, they might think they're being blessed, but they're sacrificing the strength of their future. And clearly, God is mad at me and he loves them. Because things are so easy on them and they're so hard on me. The sixth mile, okay, I am a beast. I am carrying heavy stuff in the burning heat. And I'm saying to and I'm looking around at the world around me and I'm saying, hey, there's nobody else out here. There's nobody else on the road out here. They're all just driving around inside of their air-conditioned vehicles. But I'm out here walking through the desert, carrying stuff. I must be one of the strongest men in the world. So notice there's this whole ego interaction, right? Now, the other side of that is, this humble, gracious sort of man, right? It's like, oh no, this is my cross. I must bear my cross. There's clearly some sort of lesson here that I need to learn. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me, right? So the beating down that I'm getting from the world is actually, I'm saying to myself, trying to teach me a lesson, okay? Now, let's say I'm sitting in a group, okay? And we're talking about overcoming addiction, right? Incidentally, there's two types of slavery, right? There is an external slavery, like maybe you're put in jail, although that's not exactly slavery, but it feels like it. Maybe you are deeply in debt, but it's a debt that you took on willingly, like a house mortgage. And in this way, in a strange way, you've enslaved yourself to the external world. Maybe you've gotten married. Maybe you have kids, okay? You have to go out and you have to, earn. You have to get by. You don't have time for your feelings and all these other considerations. But what about the biblical lines, okay? The idea that you should not be worried about your clothes or your food. For if God will take care of the lilies of the field and the sparrows of the air, how much more important must you be to the Creator? Okay? So, talking about two different sides. One side, the male ego. We're in competition. This is ambition. I'm not letting anything go. Any mistake anybody makes, I'm going right on it. And I'm saying, therefore, that person is not a fit leader. Therefore, I am a fit leader. I want the social credibility. I want the acknowledgement. I want the respect. I want the money. I want everything associated with it. And don't you dare try to step into my area and show off, because I'll put you in your place quickly with glee, okay? It's not even an effort for me. It's quite natural. And it's quite natural for you too. It's quite natural for all of us. So a kind of vicious, ambitious, comparative ego that is prepared to fight, and if you're lucky, actually likes to fight, right? Yeah, that can happen too. And then this other side, you're a good man. You don't want to disrespect people. You don't want to make people feel small. You want to be treated with respect and dignity. Therefore, you shall treat others with respect and dignity. And if somebody makes a mistake, you're not going to point it out and highlight it. You're just going to nod and say to yourself, well, everybody makes mistakes. Now what's happening to that vicious ego, that vicious, ambitious ego? What's happening to it? Well, you're tapping it down, aren't you? You're saying, hey, you're not the most important thing going on here, aren't you? Now, one of the interesting parts about this is that the men are being played. They're being played on both sides. In other words, the women are saying, we only want the top 20% of men, the men with the most money, the men with the most possessions, the men with the most ability to earn these things, and the character that suggests that they will share it and give it away to help the world around them. So a very ambitious man, a very capable man, right? This is what you need to be in the world, it seems. But then if you, as a man in a group of people talking of perhaps, let us, say, dealing with addiction, and you bring forth that vicious, ambitious ego part of you, which you need to get by in the world, they're going to shut you down. They're going to say you're toxic. They're going to say, that's not how it works here. We support everybody, and we're all equal, and we're all the same. And you are out of line for trying to assert any sort of hierarchy, position, leadership. Okay, so the very male qualities that you need to get by in the world are shamed and condemned from a female point of view. So this is the conflict that I'm talking about within the man. The men don't know if they're coming or they're going. They don't know up from down. They don't know left from right, north from south, or east from west. They don't know how to orient themselves. Now, my friend, Jordan Peterson, I consider him a friend, because I listen to his videos and I gain many of his insights. So one of the things that he talks about is that we interpret the world according to our aim, according to our goals. So if the man wants to walk across the stage and there's a chair in his way, it's not a chair, it's just an obstacle, okay? The man wants something on the other side of, the stage, or the chicken wants something on the other side of the road. The rest of the world doesn't matter. You're playing a game of chess and you see that there's going to be an exchange of pieces. Okay, the rest of the board, it really doesn't matter that much. Like, you don't need to calculate, what happens if, they make a move from like A2 to A4. That's like the rook's pawn coming out. It's like, well, that was a wasted move. Could be a genius move, 10 moves down the road, but for now, we don't even need to consider it. We're not sitting around looking at the world and saying, let me account for everything in the world and then let me decide what to do. It would be too much. It would be overwhelming, okay? So it comes down to, what do I want? I want a glass of water. I want to walk across the stage. I want to cross the road. And everything else kind of fades away and is unimportant in achieving that goal. This is how we're looking at the world around us, through our goals, through our ambitions. Hell, I remember being a baby in the crib and thinking to myself, I got to get out of here. I got to climb up this crib and make it over to the dresser and open up the drawers and climb down the dresser. And then I can, go over to the stairs. And then I can slide down. We're interpreting things relative to our wants and our desires, our ego, what we want, but we are condemned as men for being ambitious. We're trying to rise above. We're trying to single ourselves out and lift ourselves up so that we do have the consideration, the respect, the dignity, not a slave, not a beggar. What if these two parts of our personality are at odds? Understand, it's the women, it's the world around us shaming us for not having all of our goals, all the money, all of the attention and admiration. We know, this is the feeding of the ego. Now, if you do it in the wrong way, it's going to kind of make you sick and crazy. You know what I mean? And I think we do. I think, I've done a lot of that. In other words, the sun is shining. I find some loose money and I actually think that I'm a great person. And then it starts to rain and I lose a little bit of money and I start to think, wow, I am just this terrible person. Neither one of them are true, right? But you can understand. You can understand how a person would interpret things this way. It's all about winning. It's all about achieving our goals. It's all about fulfilling our desires. Now, we don't want to be a slave to these desires. Okay, this is the, internal slavery. We can be a slave to the external world where we are literally, imprisoned, enslaved, forced to work, or we've taken on a huge debt. Now, if you've taken it on willingly, it's something a little different, but, when times get hard, we start to feel sorry for ourselves. And when times are good, we want to build ourselves up a little bit. And yet, there's this other aspect of the personality sitting in there and saying, you're not supposed to be ambitious. You're not supposed to demand respect and attention. You're supposed to just be one of the crowd, one of the herd, and you should be happy that way. But if you do this, you have no chance of getting a decent job. If you do this, you have no chance of getting a decent promotion. If you do this, you have no chance of attracting the attention of the world around you. Now, perhaps you're saying, Howard, I don't care. I am MGTOW, and I shun all of these things, right? Well, guess what? That's how I looked at it too, okay? And I am now up against this terrible conflict. How do I make my way in the world, which includes some domination, some intimidation, some humiliation, some standing out, some of me saying, look, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about. Therefore, I should be the one speaking and getting paid, right? Oh, that's horrible, Howard. How dare you? Exactly. How dare I? How dare anyone, right? You are required to distinguish yourself to rise above, to fulfill your goals, to fulfill your desires, not for a sick, weak little ego like a drug addict, not some slave to your internal feelings, but the ability to be proud of yourself, the ability to earn your way in the world, the ability to have human dignity. Okay? Seems reasonable, doesn't it? I know it does. And as long as you don't let it go to your head, you'll be fine. So why isn't that working out for you? Why isn't that working out for me? The answer is because that's toxic. That's what we're told. That's toxic. You're not allowed to behave that way. You are not the A student. You are not the class valedictorian, okay? You're just like everybody else. So understand how mediocrity is held up as a virtue. Of course, it's not. Now, a little bit of humility, grace, that's fine. That's good. But not at the cost of your ambition, not at the cost of your goals. Remember, you interact with the world through your goals. So if you say, I have no goals, I just want to do good, be good, well, nothing can happen in your life. Everything now just becomes another object for you to consider and for you to give dignity and respect to. And you certainly don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And you certainly don't want to be disrespectful towards anything. And you certainly don't want to use or misuse or abuse anything because you're a good person. And if you don't act that way, if you display, qualities contrary to that in the group, the female, the weaker male side of that group is going to attack you and they're going to fire you. They're going to call you into human resources. They might even press charges against you. So now, where are you as a man? The world reveals itself, interacts with you according to your goals. If you have no goals, if you have no ambition, if all you want to do is lay there and be a good person, okay, nothing will happen. Until you say, I want a glass of water. I want to get a nice ribeye. Until you say these things, there's no place for you to go. So you cannot turn away from your ego and your ambition. You are not the pure good man by doing so. You are a weak. I don't mean that like you personally. Okay. If the person doesn't have goals, if they're not driving towards something, then they're neutral. They're just this gray, meaningless thing, right? I'm reminded of the biblical line in Revelations. Be ye either hot or cold, for if you are lukewarm, I will spew thee out of my mouth. Okay? If you are lukewarm towards your goals and ambition in life, life will spew you out. No room for that. Okay? What? You want to be the winning quarterback of the game, but you don't want to hurt nobody. You want to win the fight, but you don't want to hurt nobody. You don't want to hurt their feelings either. You want to encourage them to, get it done. Or you want to beat them. You want to show that you're better than them. You want to win that game. You want to win that prize. And you will make all level of sacrifices to achieve that. Now you're fighting. Now you're on target. Now you're on goal. Now you're on purpose. Now you have meaning and purpose in your life. Is it an illusion? Are you kidding yourself with it? I don't know. It depends on what you're trying to accomplish and why you're trying to accomplish it, right? Like a lot of people think that they have a life without love, right? They don't love anybody. They just have needs. They have wants and needs. So it's neediness disguising itself as love, okay? It's ambition, it's desire, it's goals disguising itself as humility, as graciousness. But it just doesn't work that way. I don't think it works that way. I can't make that work. And yet I know that if I exhibit my true male qualities in the public world, that everybody in that group is going to condemn me. So I want to be number one, right? I want to, be the alpha. I want to get to the top. I want to achieve my goal. I want to be beyond reproach. I want to get to the top of the mountain, and I'm willing to do the things that I need to do to get there. But if I do those things, the people around me who perhaps lack that ambition or perhaps don't care, or perhaps, they just want to be part of the group, they'll condemn that. They'll say, look, this is toxic. We can't have this. We can't have somebody telling the truth where people are trying to overcome addiction when we need to give them support, when we need self-affirming care. This is kind of like gender-affirming care, which kind of, which would suggest that anything this person suggests, it's like, oh, yeah, that's great. Really good job. Just keep it up, man. Just keep doing that. I support you. And it's like the person is not doing the right thing. They are destroying themselves. They are placating the worst part of their personality. Like it's just going to get worse, right? So now you have to compromise on the truth because you want to be a nice guy. Again, I don't mean you personally. I mean, the man, he can't speak out. He can't tell the truth. He can't stand up for what's right because he's going to hurt people's feelings. He can't become alpha. He cannot become number one. He cannot achieve his goals. He cannot overcome the others because if he does, he is toxic. Okay. So this really is like, okay, you're a professional fighter and you're going to go in that ring. And the other man in that ring, he is going to try to knock you out and hurt you bad. Okay. And all you have to do, don't hurt him. Just don't hurt anybody. So this is the situation that I think men are facing. We are called upon to be the fighters, to be those who overcome, to embody strength and accomplishment, even through the burning hot desert. And yet, to do so, we are condemned. And now this mindset it's internalized. The man is doing it to himself. You get enough social support, you get enough peer pressure going on, the ideas become internalized. So the men are being pulled in two different directions. I am being pulled in two different directions. I need to achieve. I need to have my goals. I need to have my ambition. I need to be working towards them in order to feel good about myself and my life and the fact that I exist. Okay. But if I do that, then I'm going to hurt some feelings. Then I'm going to have to say, hey, you're not very good at that. I'm better at that than you. And I want the job and I want the pay. And anything else short of that is a joke. And I will demonstrate to you how it is a joke. In other words, I will say things like, I don't know if I completely agree with that. Or I'll say things like, yeah, well, what about considering this? I'll take it apart is what I'll do. The Socratic method, the idea of questioning people to clarify what it is they think they're trying to say. It's forbidden in a court of law. Yeah, it is. It really is. It would be known as, asking leading questions, right? So just this process of, saying to somebody, what do you mean? Can you, make that a little more clear? I don't understand this part. With the intent that, you're taking their argument apart, not to help them understand to just illustrate the fact that they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, you can't do that in a court of law. And if you do that in a social public setting where you're trying to achieve your goals and your ambition, you can't do it there either. The women, the weak men, they will condemn you and you will be dragged down into mediocrity. So, I'm out about going through the world and I better not stand out. No. My skills better not come to bear. No. I better not demonstrate any leadership or confidence or any of those things because that would be toxic. So this is the rock in the hard place that I believe the man and myself are trapped between. And MGTOW, okay? Going your own way. Nietzsche, we can't define our moral environment. We can't ultimately determine good and evil. Like you can, but only within the context of what's already been set. Which is to suggest that if you were born and raised into a civilization of cannibals, you would be a fine young cannibal. And if anybody suggested anything else, you'd be like, no, this is how we honor them. Very interesting regarding cannibalism. Mad cow disease, right? This is when the cows inadvertently, or I don't know, intentionally, end up eating the brains. Yes, eating the brains of the other cows. And it causes this, it can actually alter the DNA of the individual. And there's nothing else that we're aware of that can do this. So it's like a virus that a person catches and it changes their DNA. And essentially mad cow disease. I'm sorry, I just had to bring that one up. Okay, so that's a little bit off topic. But it's not. Believe me, I've got a connection here, but I'm not going to go into it. In any case, that's enough for now. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section below. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, donate. I need your guys' support over on Cash App. I don't sell merchandise. I don't have Google ads. I don't talk about my sponsors. There's no commercials here. I watch a lot of videos, like I fall asleep to them, like history and philosophy and stuff like that, and just gets interrupted, with all the ads and all the bullshit. And it usually happens right at the critical point too. This is a big deal. This is like a left jab, just interrupting the whole flow of things. Not trying to do damage with that left jab, not at all. Just trying to set up the rhythm, just trying to set up the other things. So I don't have any of that. I don't want any of that. I'm not trying to hypnotize you with images of beautiful women and moving motion graphics. I'm trying to talk to you. I'm trying to give you, at least my insight. I'm trying to share that with you. So I would really appreciate your support because that's all there is. And without it, I eventually fade away. So, like, share, comment, subscribe, donate, and join me again, Howard Dare, as I plan to have more content for you. Thank you, MGTOW.